What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we got the first official raw gameplay of Modern Warfare 2. This is a campaign mission called Dark Water, and in today's video I just wanted to show that gameplay off for you guys while sharing some of my thoughts based on this gameplay, as well as some additional gameplay that I got to see behind the scenes at an early online media event. Now, when it comes to judging graphics and everything like that, I wanted to hold off until I could see this officially posted on YouTube so I could watch it in 4K to really get a good feel for that, because at that online event, it was held over a Zoom meeting. There was a lot of compression, a lot of artifacting, and they had watermarks all over our screen, so nobody was leaking anything. So this was also the first time that I've seen it in all its glory, I guess you could say. And initial impressions, just looking at sort of the graphics and the lighting and the art style and all of that kind of stuff, I think it looks great. Is it absolutely revolutionary compared to their previous game, Modern Warfare 2019? No, I wouldn't say so. I would say it looks like a lot of the same, but with some very minor tweaks and improvements here or there to various elements. And overall, I think that's a good thing, and it's about what I expected. I didn't expect another massive leap forward just 3 years after the previous huge leap forward. So the fact that they've just tightened some things up and improved a little areas here or there, I think that is great. And I have seen a lot of comments of people saying this looks like a PS3 game or something, and I think that is just ridiculous to me. It may not be another huge leap forward. It wasn't mind-blowing or anything to see this after playing through Modern Warfare 2019's campaign. But to me at least, when you compare it to other FPS games on the market, this looks really good. As for the actual gameplay flow and how you progress through the mission and everything, it looks like a pretty standard Call of Duty campaign experience. You basically move from point A to point B, killing enemies along the way. There's going to be certain emergent things that pop up as you're doing this, and you're just checking your corners, watching for those targets, and taking them out as you move along and progress through the story. So at least when it comes to this mission that they showed off, it's kind of the same old Call of Duty campaign style gameplay. However, I can mention that I have seen more interesting campaign sections. We saw one mission behind the scenes where it's sort of a stealth mission where you're using water elements to progress your way through the map. So you're diving under the water and swimming up underneath enemies that are standing on a dock, for instance, and taking them out with executions. And it's a mission that can be played very stealthily, or you can just go hot and battle it out with them. Another thing that caught my eye while watching this gameplay, as well as the other gameplay behind the scenes, is that it actually seems to be taking a very different approach to the tone of everything compared to Modern Warfare 2019. And this goes along with a lot of what they've been mentioning as well with their marketing material. With Modern Warfare 2019, for instance, I remember with their gameplay reveal that they first showed off where you're moving through a house in London and it's super tight, close quarters, very tactical. You can play around with like lights, for instance, to cause AI to interact in different ways. And you had to be very careful about who you were shooting at every time you entered a room. Is it going to be an innocent person that isn't a threat to you, so you shouldn't be shooting them? Or is it going to be a hostile? Or are they maybe innocent at first and then they become a hostile? That was a lot of the gameplay focus, it seemed like, with the campaign in that game. Whereas the impression that I've got so far from the campaign gameplay that I've seen with this is it seems to be taking a step back to a much more traditional Call of Duty campaign feel, where it's a little bit more about just kill everything in sight and get to the objective while a bunch of crazy cinematic stuff is going on in the process. And I can't help but feel that in some ways, at least for campaign, this is a little bit of a step backwards from Modern Warfare 2019. As far as campaign goes, I think they really took things to the next level and gave us a much more grounded and realistic sort of experience that we'd never seen before in Call of Duty, and I do feel like that was quite popular, at least when we're talking about the campaign. So I definitely think at this point, based on what we've seen and what we know, I think there is some very valid criticism here that in some ways this seems like a step back for Call of Duty campaigns. Now, perhaps this just comes down to the mission that they decided to show off, or missions, I guess you could say, when we're talking about what they showed behind closed doors. And maybe there will be more of that tactical, grounded experience with some of the campaign missions, because not all of the Modern Warfare 2019 missions were like that. So I'll definitely reserve some judgment, but just based on what we have seen, this didn't impress me as much as the campaign mission that they first showed off for Modern Warfare 2019. Now, as for some of the details I noticed while watching this trailer, keeping in mind, I think I'm going to do a full video breaking down every gun that I've seen, both behind the scenes as well as in this campaign gameplay and the reveal trailer. But just a brief overview of some of the weapons that I saw here. We've got the Chris Vector, I saw a P90, looked like a SCAR of some sort, obviously some AK variants in there as well. Toward the beginning, we saw a Marksman Rifle, and it appears Ghost is using some sort of a bolt-action rifle with no optic attached on it. Kind of looks similar to like the SPR, for instance, although I haven't taken a really close look to see what it is in real life. And then, of course, we did see a little bit of shotgun gameplay in the second part of the gameplay as well. And I also want to talk a bit about this second part of the gameplay, because this brings a lot of memories back from Crew Expendable from COD 4, as well as Wetwork, the multiplayer map from COD 4. And that was a multiplayer map that was super narrow and linear because it takes place on a ship. There's shipping containers everywhere. And this had a very similar vibe and feel to it. Although one interesting feature that is just showing up in campaign is these crates are moving back and forth with the waves as the ship is rocking back and forth. And from what I've heard, this is something that Infinity Ward touched on. They were considering doing something like this for multiplayer as well, because they're almost definitely going to adapt this into a multiplayer map. But apparently they've decided against that because it created a lot of technical issues with updating locations of those moving elements and making sure they're consistent for everybody in the game in an online environment. And I'm actually totally on board with that. I think that's best suited to campaign. That's not something I'd like to see in multiplayer anyway. And another thing is you can also see the character leaning with the ship as it's leaning back and forth. And again, this is cool for campaign because it's really cinematic and everything. I just hope we don't see this in the multiplayer version of this map, assuming there will be a multiplayer map. But I think it's pretty safe to assume that at this point. So there we go. That pretty much wraps it up for my initial thoughts and impressions based on this campaign gameplay now that I've actually been able to watch it in 4K. Overall, I think this is looking pretty good. I'm not much of a campaign guy anyway, so I'm mainly trying to look at this through the lens of multiplayer. But I will reiterate once again that at least when it comes to the overall tone of this, I can't help but think that it might be a bit of a step backwards from Modern Warfare 2019. And also, there was nothing in this that really blew me away. I wasn't shocked to see anything throughout this. I just kind of thought, yeah, this looks pretty decent as I was watching it. Of course, those are just my opinions. This is where I want to hear from you guys in the comment section below, though. What did you think of this first look at campaign gameplay for Modern Warfare 2? What do you think about the graphics, the weapons that you saw, the apparent change in tone compared to Modern Warfare 2019's gameplay? Just let me know any and all thoughts that you have regarding this gameplay in those comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.